Folks out there, welcome to the Right Side of Campus Saturday Sit-Down edition. I'll be your host today, Donnie Right Side, along with my partner in crime, Jeff Nadeau, at Jeff Nadeau on Twitter. He's also known as the big man on campus. The Saturday Sit-Down is designed to go over each and every play on the card today in Major League Baseball. Got a couple double headers ready to go. Some nice weather on the holiday weekend. And, Jeff, it is July 1st, a brand new month. So here we go, buddy.
Yeah, 2 profitable months for me, Don. I know you've been profitable as well. So we'll look to continue another month as we head towards football. Got 2 heavy months of baseball coming up here. So let's jump into it. It's July 4th coming up on Tuesday. Lot to do today.
Yeah, no question about it. Just looking over some games there, going over what happened yesterday. If you're following any of the week's plays for myself, haven't turned out so well. Seem to be running into, I don't even want to say it's bad luck, Jeff, but looks like just some regression coming back to the median on some of these pitchers that, not only throwing sensational games, but career level games. It's going to happen. It's a long baseball season. No use to crying over spilled milk there. You wake up, you work hard, you put out some more plays the very next day, and you hope to get on the winning side. So that's where my angle is going to be at today, and hopefully we can cash in with some numbers. Any thoughts on last night's baseball card there for you, Jeff?
Not particularly. I went 1-1. I had the Dodgers covering the run line. I also had Houston Astros, who, look, going into the 5th inning, they were playing, or 6th inning, up 3-1. You're feeling pretty good. Lance McCullers gets in a little trouble. They take him out, I thought, a little prematurely. And David Feliz comes in and manages to give up, I think, 5 runs. They ended up giving 9 runs up in 2 innings. That's twice now that this year I've had the Houston Astros, and they were up decent. The one game they were up 6 runs, I believe, against the Royals and ended up losing. I, for whatever reason, have not had good luck betting them full game. I haven't bet them too much, but that was a tough one to swallow just because I felt really good about that game. But how about Mike Fulton-Avits, Donnie? The Braves get the job done last night. Didn't really understand that price. But we'll look to crash today, Donnie. A lot of gas can pitchers on the mound today. A lot of small lines. There's plenty of value here on the card. So, let's jump into it.
You got it, man. Just trying to send out a live link. Doesn't look like we linked one out there. So let me just shoot one out real quick while we get started. As I'm doing that last night, one of the games, I always like to bring up interesting coaching standpoints, whether it be a first base coach, manager, third base coach. A very, very quirky one here, Jeff, happened in Milwaukee in the game I was looking at, which, again, was still going to be a long shot to get over the 9.5. But if you could have got the extra run, pushed it to extra innings, you never know what can happen, just like the Toronto Boston game yesterday, which ended up going to extra innings and going over. But how about this, Jeff? You lead off the inning with a single. The very next batter doubles into the gap. And instead of holding second and third with nobody out when you need 1 run to tie, they round the slow runner who gets gunned down at the plate. I don't understand where some of these base coaches, managers, it's all about game type situation and what you're supposed to do. They're supposed to be the ones leading the charge. Why are you sending? I don't even care, Jeff, if the ball was still laying up against the wall when you're rounding third. Why are you sending him on with no outs when you need that 1 run?
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, Donnie. The Yankees have had an issue with that. Their first base or their third base coaches had a major issue with doing that. Not surprising. There's a reason that third base coaches are not managers or something else. So, yeah, look, it can be irritating. There's a lot of irritating things about baseball, Donnie. Your ace, not your ace, your second ace pitches well the whole game, and, you get A.J. Hinch has done that, Donnie. This is the second game in the matter of a couple days where, he takes a pitcher out, I think, prematurely. Did it with Michael Fiers the other night. Did it last night with McCullers. He needs to make better managing decisions late in games right now. They're still rolling, but at the end of the day, I don't like some of these managerial decisions by A.J. Hinch.
Also, Jeff, how about yesterday? Blunt force trauma over there by the Los Angeles Dodgers right off the bat, grand slam first inning, just rolling. I saw the new updated stat today, Jeff. When the Dodgers win, their average margin winning by 2 or more runs is 85% now on the season. Lay minus 900 on the Dodgers right now whenever they're playing some of these lower-level teams. All they do is bash the baseball and pitch. The exact recipe of what you need to win a World Series.
I'm not going to be the one to keep saying it, but I told you so. I've been mashing this into people's heads for weeks. They've won 46 of 54 games by 2 or more runs. Like Donnie said, that's 85%. Donnie, how many times have I mentioned this on a video?
It's amazing. Like the carbon, and it also, Jeff, doesn't matter. We always talk about Houston's depth of lineup. when you look at the Dodgers, you don't get that, overall sense of it's amazing when some of their starters are out, but it doesn't matter. Everybody, like, if I looked right now, it might as well seem like everybody on the Dodgers is on pace to hit like 35 home runs. I'm being facetious, but it just seems that way every night. 4 to 5 blasts going right out of the yard, it seems like.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Austin Barnes, a big grand slam last night, and they're on the hill today again. The Dodgers, laying a 1.5 kind of line. So yeah, plenty to do today. Obviously, an interesting night last night, Donnie. But it's a new month, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we should have fun. We're going to skip right down the card today. I know there's a couple double headers out there, Jeff. Cleveland and Detroit are going to get squared up, and also Minnesota and Kansas City. Some interesting pitchers on the mound. There's a couple guys getting a career first start today and also a first start to the season, so we'll make sure we review that as well. If we take a look, Jeff, hitting the card, first, let's go to San Francisco and Pittsburgh. We'll go right down the rotation here. 901, 902. It's going to be Matt Moore and Chad Kuhl on the mound. Opening line of 9.5. Looks like it's currently sitting at 9.5 across the board. Small favorite to Pittsburgh at home with Kuhl at -124. Hasn't moved that much. Bet online, Jeff, currently showing a -125 here. If we take a look at some of the particulars on the season, Matt Moore, 3-8 overall. Chad Kuhl, 2-6. 6.05 ERA for Moore. An awful whip also, Jeff, of 1.6. Also, Chad Kuhl, not the same in that department either, doing a good job with a 1.5 whip in that one. Going to take place in Pittsburgh yesterday. An offensive explosion, Jeff, which is atypical of games for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And how about the Pirates, Jeff? Get 3 on the board in the first and end up getting destroyed in that baseball game yesterday. Unbelievable, man.
Yeah. We talked about this last night on the late night on campus. But you look at this game today, Kuhl against Matt Moore, a definite pitching issue here for both teams. Matt Moore has been horrible on the road. 9 road starts, an ERA just south of 8.5. His whip is almost 2. Over 7-1-1 in his 9 road games. If you're interested in the Giants, for whatever reason, they're not winning against teams with winning records. They're also not winning against teams with losing records. 8-20 against teams with sub-500 records, and that's why they're in the basement of baseball. Chad Kuhl has not been much better. He has an ERA above 7 at home. Look, I think we'll see some more runs in this game, Don. I think it'll be a little bit more even-keeled, a 7-5 type of game, something like that. I think we see some runs here. 9.5, both these pitchers. Again, though, the way baseball's going a little bit lately, I'm sure this will be 2-1. But the way Matt Moore's pitched, he's really kind of went with what we think is going to happen with him. Pretty good at home, but on the road, he's a total mess. And I'll tell you right now, Donnie, Andrew McCutchen started to hit a little bit. Josh Harrison's hit all year. This lineup's getting a little better. I'll go over 9.5 here. I think we see some runs in this one.
Yeah, interesting also, if you're looking at some angles there, Major League Baseball is built now, it seems like, Jeff, on getting a walk, hitting a home run, or striking out one of those 3. Both of these pitchers in Pittsburgh today, between Kuhl and Moore, don't strike out a very high number of people there and also give up, obviously, with the whip, runners on base. So that equals one of those, perfect cocktails where if you have runners on, how many times did you see an inning get destroyed by like a Chris Sale because you have a leadoff double and he strikes out 2 of the next 3 guys, and then you have a fly out and the inning's over. If you're not striking people out and you're putting people on base, Jeff, not the best recipe to keep things under for sure.
Now, Jim B and Matt Moore autofit. Yeah, Kuhl's not much better either. So we should see some runs here. Jeff and Donnie, first time on the chat. Much respect. Thank you, Trap Mixtape.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. Happy to have you. Donnie, we are sponsored and powered by BetOnline.com. Head on over to BetOnline for all your sports betting needs. I've made it clear I'm a fan of that website. I've used it before. Joe Duffy gave a nice little review for them last night. One of my favorites. Not telling you to go and spend your money there, but I'm telling you, it's a good book. I like it. I'm glad they sponsor us. Head on over there for all your betting needs because you can, Donnie. That's what their slogan is. BetOnline.com.
Hey, I always like to say, a friend of the show. It's why we're able to do this stuff here in the sports business here. We always take a moment out to plug them and, see what happens.
We should finally be getting a little swag, I'm hearing, Donnie. From
come on, man. Don't send me up here any schmedium or anything like that either down there at Bet Online. Send me some good stuff, and some nice and baggy.
An extra large.
Yes, please. Come on, man. How about for yourself, Jeff? Just a large for yourself?
What was that, Donnie?
Just a large for yourself, an extra large for me?
I got a 2X, Don. Giants are 4 straight wins, remarkably. Yeah, Scott Weaver, good to have you on the show here. Yeah, I don't think they could ever put 4 wins together, but hey, they're hitting right now, and that's good for an over. So we'll take a shot here with the over 9.5.
Yeah, like those fighting Phils we're going to get to right here, Jeff. 903, 904 in the rotation. Hellickson and Wheeler. Welcome back from the DL. Zach Wheeler, 3,100 tickets have been posted here, Jeff. And over-under opened up at 9.5, currently sitting at 9 at Pinnacle. But BetOnline also has them at 9, 9.5 at Chris. So some differences out there in the marketplace. Minus 158, a favorite opening up for the New York Mets, Jeff. BetOnline currently sitting at minus 163 in this one. So a little bit of movement there heading towards the Mets direction. If we take a look at Hellickson and Wheeler, Jeff, if we look at just some of these splits coming down the pike. On the road, 4.20 ERA for Hellickson, a 3-3 overall record. Usually averages 5.6 innings on the road, and that usually spells trouble, Jeff, because that's going to bring in the Phillies bullpen. Zach Wheeler coming back before going on the DL, 13.50 ERA. Hasn't fared very well at home either, Jeff, at a 5.9. But it's the one thing that comes down to, Jeff, who do you trust on the mound? Hellickson leaking oil out there. Wheeler coming back on the DL. The Phillies still being the Phillies on the road. But again, I'm always leery of guys coming back off the DL to see what I'm going to get in those starting environments, Jeff.
Look, I think this is a ridiculous line on Zach Wheeler. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, Donnie, you look at, again, Jay, we don't see you much in the chat here. Jay, we go over every game. We go rotation number, so you don't need to ask us about a certain game. We will get to it. But, yeah, you look at Wheeler, Donnie, last 2 starts. I had to double take at this number. 15 earned runs over 3 2/3 for Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
How do you back that? I don't care who you're playing. It's hard to get involved with a guy like that. I mean, Hellickson's not horrible. I mean, he hasn't been terrible. At this price, I'll take another shot with the Phillies. Took a shot with them last night. They did lose, but I think they were right there and could have won the game. It was a very nice underdog price. Not as good today, but you got Wheeler, and you also got a Mets team that hits 234 at home. I don't see it here with Zach Wheeler. Not really sure I understand this.
Yeah, kind of troubling out of the Mets last night, Jeff. If you watch that game, I mean, Ben Lively was ripe to get pounded for 7 to 8 runs, and the Mets just couldn't get it done. A lucky, walk of the pitcher there with DeGrom. Granderson hits a little knuckler up the middle, beats out, it scores 1 run. Final score ends up in that 2-1, and obviously DeGrom is a much, much better pitcher than Zach Wheeler. And again, coming up the DL, not really too sure actually what we're going to get in this type of environment. Over under in that one also, Jeff, currently sitting at 9. Again, I just can't trust the Phillies, even though it is Zach Wheeler, it's the Mets bullpen, to put up a lot of runs. Again, Jeff, how many times do we talk about the Phillies scratch and claw to get 1 run last night? I mean, come on.
Yeah, Ben Lively, Donnie's a guy you're going to want to soon enough fade hard because if you remember Nick Pivetta and that other scab for the Phillies, we're getting really lucky for like a couple starts. Then they started. Our friend Eflin. They started getting crushed, and it kind of lasted. Eflin was then sent down. You're going to see that with Ben Lively as well. He's gotten very lucky. You look at last night in that game; he could have gave up 4 or 5 runs, but due to some high-level lucky double plays, he got out of those innings. He's going to be a guy that you want to look to bet against going forward. Everyone out there watching, we appreciate it. Welcome, all of you. Hit the like button for us. Let us know you're here. Say hello. Obviously, we have our regulars here, but if you're new to the show, say hello. We'd love to hear from you. How many times this year have the Phillies scored 4 or more runs in a game? I'd have to look that up, my friend. I don't know.
I would actually guess 0 on that one if I'm allowed to.
How many have they scored 10 or more? I don't think they've done that at all this year. But Donnie, do you want to jump into that early game here? Get that out of the way.
Which one do you want? There's 2 early games on the docket. Which one do you want to hit first on this?
I believe there's just one: Boston and the Red Sox.
You got the doubleheader though. You have a doubleheader starting at 1 o'clock too with Tomlin and Sanchez.
Yeah, these fucking doubleheaders screw everything up.
I don't even like the cap doubleheader. Let's go with the first one. I mean, most people are probably interested, I would assume.
Yeah, what we're going to do is I don't have anything on either doubleheader game. We'll get to those at the end, throw in some thoughts on those. But let's get to that Boston-Toronto game, Donnie.
Yeah, Sale Liriano, Jeff, opened up a minus 158. Looks like it's hanging around that same area, minus 154 now, currently at BetOnline. Over-under in this one, Jeff, 8.5. Currently sits at 8.5 across the board. One book outlet out there, Chris, is offering up an 8 in this game. Did some preliminary numbers, which I was looking at, trying to figure out how I could possibly get to an under in this one, really digging deep below the belt, so to speak here. If we looked at the weighted on-base average for Chris Sale, Jeff, on the road versus right-handed batter, obviously Toronto likes to stack up versus lefties, only a 256. To put that in perspective, 320 is right around the average in the American League is what you want to look at. Liriano also, his weighted on base average, which they're going to be stacking right-handers primarily against him since he's a lefty, 294. So one of the things I was looking at here, Jeff, is possibly an underlook of 4.5 over the first 5 innings, seemingly to keep that low, let the bullpens do whatever they want to do and explode, but some decent numbers coming in. Overall road whip. The only thing I don't like about this game is we know Liriano, and thank goodness that Russell Martin here, Jeff, is behind the plate because he tends to fare better once he has that comfort level of Russell Martin. He has a 1.44 whip at home, but the interesting thing with Sale, Jeff, he counters that with a 1-0 whip on the road. Absolutely fantastic. The interesting thing about this as well, as we talked previous about pitchers that strike out and don't strike out a lot of guys, on the road versus right-handed batters, Jeff, Chris Sale strikes out 37% of the batters. That is an astounding number to look at. If you're looking at an over here, I know it's probably a great contrarian value because anytime Chris Sale takes the mound. But here I might be looking maybe first 5 under 4.5, try to keep it in that ballpark, keep it under wraps.
Yeah, this line's been interesting. It opened 170 at about 10:30 Eastern. It was down around 145. It's since been back up to 161-ish. Kind of around that 160 mark. Yeah, look, I think the Red Sox are good playing a parlay. If you lay 160, I think they'll win this game. It's hard to bet against Chris Sale, anything under 200. You look at it also, Toronto, 6-13 this year against left-handed pitching, hitting just 232. And you look at Boston, they've been very effective against lefties, hitting 265, scoring over 5 runs a game. At a price like this, you mentioned Sale's amazing numbers. You mentioned also the strikeout rate. You also look at the fact that he's going 7 1/3 per start this year. It's really hard to bet against Chris Sale. They've given him run support all year, other than 1 or 2 games. And look, Liriano's a decent pitcher, but I'm not in love with the guy. His ERA is still 5.5 through 12 games. You mentioned Martin. That's a good addition, obviously, but I'm just not sold on the consistent lineup that Toronto throws out there, especially against a lefty, and especially like a lefty against a lefty like Chris Sale. At this price, I'll throw this in a parlay with something else. I think it's a good play here on the Red Sox.
Yeah, because somebody brought up that. I think it was Bobby brought up on the chat box there. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of Capper's write-up saying how emotional it is on Canada Day up there in Toronto. Look for Toronto to get that extra bump from the crowd and be very excited for this one.
Yeah, I also want to point out continuously, stop saying Chris Sale doesn't get run support. He gets a fine amount of run support. He gets almost 6 runs of support a game. He's not one game against the Phillies, he didn't get run support, and all of a sudden he doesn't get any run support. Through 16 games, he's getting 5.75 runs of support a game. That's just fine. That's not bad. That's fine. I don't know how that's bad. What's bad about that? Chris Sale's getting just fine run support.
Yeah, let's keep it moving down the list here, Jeff. We'll go 905, 906 on the rotation. Miami, Milwaukee. Tom Kohler versus Zach Davies here. Opened up a small favorite of -128. Has backtracked a little bit there. Bet online -116. If we do a cross-reference there, Pinnacle showing -115. So somewhere in that mid-teen range. 9.5, Jeff, is the total open up. Looks like it's been bet up to 10 in this one. They're expecting some runs after last night not being able to get it going. Welcome back, Tom Kohler, off the DL, Jeff. Before he went on the DL, his last 3 starts were a 10 ERA. Yes, that's correct. Double-digit ERA. So hopefully that time off did him some good. If we look at Zach Davies at home, Jeff, 8 home starts, a 6.27 ERA, 1.7 whip at home. But how can we forget, Jeff, Cy Young Davies on the mound last Sunday, going over 7 innings, throwing shutout ball down in Atlanta. So one of those things, Jeff, I like to look at, especially with fading pitchers, is how they did in the last outing. One of those career-type games, you expect them to come a little bit back down to earth in this one. Maybe they threw a little bit more pitches than they're used to here, so we'll see what happens. Again, it's a hitter's ballpark. Weren't able to get many hits off last night from the performances from Garza and also who was a pitcher for the Miami Marlins last night? Not Liriano. It's slipping my mind. The kid who threw a no-hitter, whoever that was, I forget the name. Volquez, there you go. I don't know why that slipped my mind there, but interesting matchup in this one. One would think Jeff runs would be on the board. We'll see if Ryan Braun gets back in for the Brewers. We all know the Marlins can hit, just couldn't hit last night for some odd reason, but another day, another dollar there up in Milwaukee. What do you think's going to happen here, Jeff?
Yeah, Donnie, I've mentioned I hate Tom Kohler. I've pointed that out before.
Fastball guy, he can get popped. You're right.
Yeah, I think he's one of the more brutal pitchers in the major leagues as far as I don't think he's very good, personally. Him and Jeff Locke belong on the Marlins. They're 2 bad pitchers. When they pitch, I think it's best to fade them. Quickly, Donnie, someone's pointing out, why does Big Man always block people? Isn't the goal to get more listeners? Yeah, I mean, we both block people. And again, we're not here to be vilified and called names. So when you call people names, there's no place for that on here.
We had to block somebody today. Who did we block?
I don't remember blocking anyone. I mean, but we have people on here calling racial things and things like that. We're going to block them, unfortunately. So if you have your own radio show, you can keep on whoever you want. But when you're talking about people, we're not going to allow that. Yeah, as far as this game, Donnie, I'm actually going to pass. I have a play on this game. Look, if you've listened to my advice as far as Tom Kohler and Zach Davies, you probably know where I'm going to go in this game. But listen, I mean, that's all I'll say. I think it's pretty obvious what I'm doing here. So there you go. Free premium play. I'm going to go over 10 in this game.
Yep, I can read your mind right there. I more likely would be on the over, Jeff, than I would certainly be on the under in that one, especially with the way these two pitchers match up and the way – I mean, we all know Milwaukee does strike out, but if they can just get the bats moving on a fastball pitcher, you might see 3-4 home runs. I mean, Steve, if Vogt could hit a couple home runs out last night for Milwaukee, open up the bridges here. Let's get back Ryan Braun in the game and see what they can do, right?
Exactly.
Next up here on the docket, Jeff, we're going to go to the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds interdivision battle. 3,900 tickets of track. Opening line here for Butler, Jeff. Came out a small favorite of -123, but that's backtracked to bet online at -110. So moving backwards a little bit here. Over-under opens up a Coors Field level 11 and currently staying here, Jeff, throughout the marketplace with 11. I did see an update while we were coming on the air. I believe Chris Bryant is back in the lineup. It's kind of surprising here for Chicago, knowing that he had that bum ankle. Road game bullpen for the Chicago Cubs, Jeff, very good. 2.98 ERA. Home bullpen for the Cincinnati Reds, not as bad as you might think. 3.64 ERA. Stevens is going to get – Jackson Stevens, how about that name? Is going to get his first start here in Major League Baseball. He's not one of those guys, Jeff, that looking at his numbers, I mean, he has 76 innings put in minor league baseball. And again, you talked about it yesterday. You know, if he's behind the Asher Wojciechowskis of the world, his ERA is close to 5 in minor league baseball. So no surprise that over-under is going to be hanging at 11. We'll see how long he pitches in this one. Butler on the road. His last 3 starts, Jeff, a 3.07 ERA. I don't trust the guy at all. 4.29 on the road. Almost think like regression would have to kick in because I don't think he's a very good pitcher. Very good hitting lineup there for the Cincinnati Reds. We'll see what happens here. But again, looking at an 11, Jeff, just on its face value, there's no value in that, is there?
Well, Jackson Stevens, Donnie, I think I need to give the kid a little respect here because I think if you really peel back the onion and you look at Jackson Stevens' numbers, he's at 15 starts in AAA. 3 of his first 3 starts, he was horrible, and he had an ERA of like 11. Since then, his last 12, he's been very good. He's figured it out a little bit, an ERA around 3.5. So those first couple starts really inflated his ERA. But you're right. I mean, you bring in this kid. My whole thinking pattern normally is if he's not the number 1, 2, or 3 option, there's probably reasons for that. But again, Donnie, the Cubs are atrocious against right-handed pitching. They're only hitting .227 this year. You saw yesterday they struggled against the likes of Scott Feldman. It wouldn't surprise me to see Stevens, who they've never seen before, come in and pitch pretty well here. But you look at the over trends. Obviously, I think a lot of it is, you look at the last 7 games, 6 have went over between these teams. 31 of 42 have gone over. Hard for me to bet on Butler. Hard for me to bet on the Cubs against right-handed pitching. And there's no value on taking the Reds here. So for me, it's a pass. Though I won't be surprised if Jackson Stevens pitches well here. I just get a weird feeling he throws a nice game here. He's pitched pretty well in AAA lately, and this Cubs team can't hit right-handed pitching.
Yeah, right now the Cubs team, thank God they got Bryant back. We joked around yesterday, you take the MVP out of their lineup and already an awful-looking lineup. They were very pedestrian last night, so maybe Chris Bryant healed up miraculously overnight once they saw that offensive display. So we'll see what takes place there.
Yeah, without Chris Bryant, they're not any good. I mean, this lineup blows without Chris Bryant. And when he's not in there, it's hard to bet on the Cubs ever, no matter.
Yeah, you're talking yesterday with Feldman on the mound. I mean, you weren't even getting some ace out there to just put you in your place.
I mean, Donnie, what would
3 hits yesterday.
What would this line be last year in this same situation?
Oh, yeah, rookie coming up there, minus 245, something like that with the Cubs, sure.
With Butler on the mound.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing.
Just something ridiculous out there. Next up on the docket, what's going to happen here with the Washington Nationals, Jeff? Trey Turner goes down, and all of a sudden that offense goes into the gutter for a game. We'll see if they bounce back today. It's going to be Gio Gonzalez on the mound versus Michael Wacha. -108 it opened up at. Jeff has currently swung over as a favorite to St. Louis at -116. Ticket prices on this, Jeff, 73% of the public are backing the Washington Nationals and Gio Gonzalez, yet you have that reverse line movement. So you like that false flag. That's one of those there you can hang your hat on. 9 as the total opened up at, Jeff, currently sitting at 9. If you take a look at some particulars there, after the loss yesterday, Washington drops to 25-16 on the road. Road starts for Gio Gonzalez, 4.06, but in his last 3 overall starts, pretty good, 2.70 ERA. Wacha's home starts through 9 of them, 3.26 ERA on the season, of 4.50 ERA. But let's see if that Trey Turner, being that key cog in the top of the lineup, is really going to affect the meat of that order, because he's an unbelievable table setter. The fact that he can steal bases really disrupts the pitching. Now that's going to be gone for a couple weeks. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, another table setter out, and we'll see what happens with the lineup. We've seen this year with some of these teams, the Orioles have really struggled to get consistent hitting, with Manny Machado kind of struggling. Lindor's struggled for Cleveland, and they've not been consistent. It'll be interesting to see long-term how this affects them, but I think it's going to affect them. But you look at Gio Gonzalez, continues to get really no respect, Donnie. Every time he pitches, it's 115, 120. But you look at what he's done, 16 games, an ERA under 3. And he's 7-2. The St. Louis Cardinals having struggles against lefties this year. Listen, at this price with Gio, I'll look to back Washington. I'm not in love with this game. It just kind of concerned me as far as the number, the way it's moving. And Wacha's been fairly good. But I'll tell you right now, there's no way I'd bet the Nationals full game. You look at on the road, a 5.79 ERA on the road as far as a bullpen. They're giving up so many home runs, a lot of runs in general. If I had to play this, I'd go Nats first 5, but a game that I'm probably going to pass on.
No, I would agree with you. I don't have too much on that game. 2 pitchers there that can go either way for me as well. And again, I just want to see how Washington responds. And kind of interesting, St. Louis. I mean, every once in a while they're going to break out the bats. Every once in a while they're going to go back and crawl into a hole. Gio Gonzalez is capable of throwing a really good game, but I'm certainly not going to back him in this environment also. Next up here, Jeff. This is going to be a true test of what the Dodgers medal really is. We got Rich Hill on the mound versus Overton, the lefty from San Diego, getting a spot start. 76% of the tickets, Jeff, are backing the LA Dodgers. Opened up again as a 180 favorite, bet right over 200. Bet online showing a -207 right now. Total opened up in that one, Jeff, 8.5. Currently sits at 8.5 across the board. But you're not getting your normal type of pitcher, so to speak, with the Dodgers, what you're used to seeing with the Kershaws and the Woods, and just good pitching performances night in and night out, Jeff. Rich Hill has 4 road starts, a 5.50 ERA. His last 3 starts, Jeff, 6.19 ERA. And I know Overton there is going to get a spot start. He's, last time he got a spot start there, I'm not even sure when it was, but it shows he went 3 innings with a 2.70 ERA. This is going to be a true test of that -200. Are you just saying the Dodgers will just mash you and it doesn't matter? Or does Rich Hill come out and do one of those clown show performances that we've seen, 5 innings, 110 pitches, and exits, and gives San Diego a chance? I'm interested to see how this one pulls out.
Yeah, Donnie, I think if you can get 5 innings out of Rich Hill, they're going to cover the run line. I mean, you look at Overton, 1 start this year against Texas. He went 3 1/3, gave up 1 earned run. Look, he did what he did, but you look at also in AAA this year, in 27 innings, opponents hit 301 off of him, an ERA of 9.33. Overton's not a guy that I'm interested in this spot, especially against the Dodger lineup, who, I got to tell you, Donnie, they've really fixed their problems against left-handed hitting. 15-9 this year, scoring almost 5.5 runs a game and hitting 261. You also look at the fact that Rich Hill's throwing against the Padres. The Padres are horrid against left-handers, hitting 221. They're a lineup that doesn't concern you at all. As long as you can kind of get by Will Myers against lefties, this team is a total mess. I don't like Rich Hill normally, but 46 of 54 by 2 or more runs, 85%. Yeah, this will be a continued bet for me here. In certain Rich Hill situations, I will not bet it, but this is one where I will continue to ride the run line here. -1.5 for me with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, it's not broken, so why not? Change it up and do what you got to do. I mean, I would just stick with it. It doesn't matter who's on there. Tom Hill, Dave Hill, Steve Hill.
And that's the thing. I mean,
somebody out there.
When people say, "Well, Rich Hill's pitching today," yeah, he is, but Dylan Overton's junk. I mean, I'm not worried about Dylan Overton. The pitching will,
Or San Diego. I also was researching some numbers there. San Diego is the highest strikeout percentage in Major League Baseball, so they're helping you out at the plate too.
Yeah, they're just a great bet. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Next up here, I had a guy return from the DL last night and had very good success in this game. Colorado and Arizona break the streak up there. Colorado on a win streak here of at least one game there versus Arizona. Over-under opened up at 9, currently bet down to 8.5. If we look at Greinke, a -148 favorite over Chatwood here, has gone higher here, Jeff. -157 currently a bet at line. If we look at Chris, -165 as well, going over some of the numbers here in this matchup. Road starts for Chatwood, Jeff, 2.91 ERA through 9 starts. Greinke, 2.68, 7-0 at home through 9 starts. I know you're always a big fan of Zach Greinke, and especially the Arizona Diamondbacks when they're at home, so look for a bounce-back type of environment. Arizona, as we know, even with losing, Jeff, 30-13 at home, that's putting some distance between you and your rivals when they come to town. Colorado, again, we talked about them limping through the end of June. Maybe this can propel them forward as we take a look at a few type of instruments here. But looking at this game overall, both these teams come ready to play. Good offenses can be in there. I mean, I would lean towards Greinke. I don't like the line being that high, but there's one pitcher that I want to back in that environment. Getting that number from the Arizona Diamondbacks would be Zach Greinke at home.
Yeah, Joe Duffy and I, Donnie, talked about some overnight lines last night. This is one game we did discuss. At that time, it was around 150. And I mentioned I thought this line would go up to 160 plus. You look at it bet online currently at 157, so that's probably the best line you can find right now on the Arizona Diamondbacks. And look, I mean, the Rockies have still lost 8 of 9. I know they got the job done last night, but, for me, Greinke's a guy that really hasn't gotten a lot of love being out in San Diego or out in Arizona. The Arizona Diamondbacks, as far as in general, haven't gotten much love. I haven't heard anyone discuss their pitching staff this year other than myself, I feel like. Greinke's been very good at home, 9 home starts, 7-0 with an ERA of 2.68. They've won 8 of his 9 starts in Chase Field. And look, Donnie, I know Chatwood's been very good as well, very good road numbers throughout his career. But listen, I'm not really interested in getting involved right now with the Rockies. I don't know that they're consistent enough for me right now. I think Arizona will even the series tonight and get the job done here. A little too high, though, for my blood. Not really looking to lay 1.5 runs either, just because the Rockies we know can hit. This is a stay-away game for me, but I would probably back Arizona here if I had to. They at home or a bet on team for me, especially with Greinke.
Yeah, next game up on the document, Jeff, 9-17, 9-18. It's going to be Texas and the Chicago White Sox. We got Hamels and Holland in this one. Over-under opened up at 9.5, has since been bet to 10, and also Chris showing up at a 10.5 to lead the charge across the board. 68% of the tickets, Jeff, are currently backing Cole Hamels in this one, even though coming back off an extended DL stay, he got shelled his last time out, so we'll see how he bounces back there. Holland's been very good, though, at home, Jeff. 6 games, a 2.31 ERA. We all know the struggles that Texas does have on the road at only 17-24, but a decent day team, Jeff, at 14-8. If we take a look at some particulars from the Chicago White Sox, 18-17 at home and 13-9 versus left-handed pitching. I know a lot of people out there like to wait for left-handed pitching for the Chicago White Sox. So here's your chance to get that, albeit a price that you're going to be laying a slight favorite there on Texas if you want to back them. Obviously getting a little bit back on the opposite side with the Chicago White Sox. Any ideas on how you think Cole Hamels is going to come out? I mean, pedigree of a pitcher is very good, but again, shaky coming off the DL. Not sure I want to back somebody until I know what I'm going to be fully getting from him, Jeff.
Yeah, he's been he was really poor in that first game off the DL. Yeah. You look at the White Sox, Donnie. 5.5 runs a game, hitting .294 against left-handed pitching. This is a team that mashes lefties. Hamels coming off the DL, coming off the last, several months of pitching. He hasn't been very good. A lot of base runners, a lot of traffic. They also are 17-24 on the road, Donnie, Texas is. They're only hitting .219. You look at last night, bullpen blows yet another game. And, Donnie, I think we have to discuss this bullpen's issues on the road. An ERA of 6.24, a whip of 1.77. And you look at the fact that they've blown on the road 10 saves. They've also only had 9 saves. So they've blown more saves than they've had. The combo of Hamels and this bullpen, the issues at the plate, and the fact that Chicago's been very good at home and against left-handed pitching. I'll take my shot with Holland here. I'm not really interested. A lot of things about Texas I just don't like today.
I would agree with you there, and I'm always nervous. If you're going to back a road team, is going to be a favorite. I want my pitcher coming in intact. And again, we all know the White Sox can hit lefty pitching, decent number. Looking at the over-under there, Jeff, 10.5, probably would be a pass there. I'm not seeing too much value in that one. Next up, Jeff, first game of a doubleheader. We'll review this one and probably not pay too much attention to the second one since obviously so much changes between the start of the first game and the start of the second game. You're going to have Barrios versus Farrell in this one. The interesting thing about Farrell is the manager for the Boston Red Sox will not be managing the Boston Red Sox today. Why? Because he's going to go see his son in his major league debut in Kansas City as he takes on Barrios. An interesting line opening up there, Jeff. Even with the pitching change and knowing that Farrell was going in there, opened up as a slight favorite to Kansas City, has since been shifted back to Barrios here at 65% of the tickets coming in. He's currently sitting at a -120, over-under of 9. If we take a look at some particulars in this one, Jeff, road ERA for Minnesota out of the bullpen, not bad, 3.79. Also not too bad for the Kansas City Royals at home at a 3.95. Look like Barrios on the road, 5 road starts, 3.41 ERA. The kid has really magic stuff. We'll see if it stacks up today. Interesting to see a new pitcher coming on the mound, so you never quite know what you're going to get. If we look at ERA in the minor league system there, Farrell's had 82 innings and a 3.83 ERA. I think, Jeff, from what Farrell was actually quoting on his son there, is actually he's doing the same thing that you called previous about Stevens, maybe a little slow to start in the past couple of years, but coming on lately here in minor league baseball. So a first starter there, I don't have much on it, but I guess you would lean to Barrios in this situation just because he's a known quantity here, right?
I'm looking under 9.5 in this game. I think that's a pretty good play here. Barrios has been very good, as we know, all year. And you look at Farrell. Obviously, you mentioned Luke Farrell's father. John Farrell will be there in attendance, which, look, not for nothing. I mean, I get it's the kid's first start, but you can't film it. I mean, you're a big league manager.
I'm glad you're getting this. I just saw that pop up in the chat box. Go ahead with your opinion on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I get your life is all about memories and stuff, but you're a big league manager with a team that is in an AL. It's not. Listen, if you're the Phillies manager, I guess maybe I can understand it. I don't really understand it in general. So, Donnie, when your birthday happens and you have a job, should you get off every year?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, the only thing I guess,
never, Donnie, real quick, I guess it's similar to having a child, though, maybe.
No, that's the only thing. If a kid, I don't care if it's the Super Bowl and your firstborn is about to take place and the guy said, starting quarterback said, look, I'm going to see the birth of my child. I really can't even get on them because it's life coming into. You want to make sure everything's okay, especially if it's your first. It's very nerve-wracking. I fully even understand that. But this, I mean, okay, so I want to see his first start. You can get it on tape. He's in the American League. He's probably going to come to your damn ballpark and pitch against you. You're going to get tapes. The family's going to be there. The mother's going to be there. The brother, sister, family, friends, 50 tickets. I don't get that one at all. And again, Jeff, if he was the third base coach, okay, maybe. But come on, man.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I'm surprised that the Red Sox allowed it, I guess. But, yeah, look, I think the kid will still pitch pretty well. He's been pretty good down in AAA, 82 innings, 77 strikeouts, and ERA under 4. Been pretty good. And, Donnie, you also look at the fact that the Minnesota Twins have really struggled lately to hit. You look at over the last week or so, hitting under 200, scoring under 3 runs a game. I think both lineups are going to have some trouble today. I'll give a shot. I think Farrell's is kind of a good game to throw him into. Twins not hitting right now. And I think Barrios will be on his game today. You can still get 9.5 at several different books. I would go with under 9.5 here.
Yeah, no, he's got really good stuff, and it matches up well. It's kind of interesting that Kansas City went into a shell versus Fulmer and came out of their shell yesterday. But when Barrios is on, we've all seen it, Jeff. His stuff is electric. When he first came up last year, we all knew how highly touted he was, but he got hit around, starting to come into his own here, handling. And again, we're talking about a ballpark environment there in Kansas City. Not the greatest hitting place, a very big ballpark, very expansive there. So we'll see how that checks out. And I agree. I always lean towards if you're going to have a new start, you don't really know what he's going to have. The one ace in your hole, Jeff, is the element of surprise. you want to take pitches from Farrell. You want to see him 1, 2, or 3 times around. And by the time you get to see him the 3rd time around, if he's done good, he's probably already out of there, because these teams are big on saying, you know what, if you can go out there and give us 5 innings, 1 or 2 run ball, we'll get you right out of there. Everybody feels good about the start. We'll move on. So that's also an element of surprise I like by you with your thinking there in the under. So let's take a look next up on the docket, Jeff. Yeah, go ahead, man.
So I guess my question would be like, so if I have a job and my daughter has a dance recital, can I leave and go to that?
Yes, I mean, because if you leaving is going to shut down the power plant, or like you're managing of like the power plant. No, I mean, it's a little bit less than that. So
yeah, but I mean, I guess you could say it here. Well, he's got, just pretend he gets ejected, I guess, But
well, I mean, I could see if they said, his son's like, hey, his son is dying of cancer. It's his only start he's ever going to have. Go ahead and see the guy. But is there tea leaves out there where they called Farrell and said, look, he ain't never coming up again. Your son is a bum. We're doing this because we like you. Okay, I see it. But something tells me it's not going to be his last day in Major League Baseball.
Right. And by the way, the Royals, Donnie, over the last 45 games since May 11th, 27-18. So we see how they've kind of come back here. Big man, I think you're looking too much at Twins stats this week. They face some good pitchers, Price and Sale. Okay, well, I mean, I'm just pointing out they haven't hit well. I mean, who's to say? They've never seen Farrell. So I guess we'll see here, won't we? I think this is a 4-3 type of game. We'll see, though.
Now, by the way, Jeff, was that a dig at me for missing a Friday show for a dance recital for a kid? I'm starting to read into this.
No, honestly, I just kind of thought of it right away, Donnie. I didn't even think about it. I can tell BMOC isn't used to having a 9 to 5. Yeah.
Well. I mean, we've all had 9 to 5s. This is more of a 5 to 9, so to speak.
Right.
Next up on the docket, Jeff, why don't we get into Tampa Bay and Baltimore here? An interesting matchup if we take a look at both pitchers. Odorizzi versus Bundy on the mound. Jeff, over-under opened up at a stellar Coors Light field, I should say, 11. And if we take a look at the numbers on here, -123 bet up to -125 at Bet Online in favor of Dylan Bundy at home. If we take a look at some particulars on this game here for us tonight, Jeff, interesting one last night. If you were sitting on Baltimore as a nice dog, I know most people out there probably had Faria on the road versus an awful Tillman. This game almost went over and had no business going over. A final 6-4, but Brad Brock once again comes in the 9th inning, has a wild pitch and a balk, gives up a 2-out single. Next thing you know, we're tied, and they take the loss instead of getting a win. That team cannot get Britton back any faster, Jeff, to hopefully save the day and save their season, so to speak. Bundy at home, Jeff, been good. 8 home starts, 3.26 ERA. Not good in his last 3. 7.16 overall. Odorizzi on the road, 4.81 through 6 starts on his ERA. His last 3 starts have been a 5.40. Again, I don't know what I'm going to get day to day out of Baltimore. Odorizzi's not the best pitcher on the road. I might look at taking maybe a slight shot here at Baltimore. I think the pitching matchup slightly favors them, and maybe they're going to look to rebound last night, but never good to blow a lead in the 9th inning, especially the way they did. It wasn't a solo home run. They didn't work for it. You get a man on base, you basically move them to third and then give up a 2-out hit. So something's got to give today. If you're looking at this game, I'm probably going to do a slight lean towards Baltimore, even though you know what type of big fan I am with Tampa Bay, but I always think Tampa Bay's value usually lies at home here, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know where to go with this game, Donnie. I mean, you look at Bundy. I mean, I guess he's probably your most reliable starter for Baltimore, but he has been very good. Odorizzi, first time he's allowed more than 3 runs in his starts is May 16th in his last start. So, like, he's pretty reliable also for the most part. I see this total at 11.5. It opened 10.5, so it's been bet up. Obviously, that's probably sharp money doing that, I think. I don't think the public would look at this game and say, I'm going to bet over. Maybe they will just because of Baltimore's struggles, but Bundy's been very good at home. I mentioned Odorizzi's reliability. I just think 11.5 is too high for these teams. I would look under here. This could be 8-7, but I think both these pitchers will be decent today. I really do. I would maybe look first 5 under. That might be the best value in this game. Both these bullpens do have some problems on the back end. You mentioned Baltimore's, Tampa Bay is the likes of Jumbo Diaz still pitching in games. For me, I'm going to look first 5 under in this game, Donnie, which I'm going to get here in one moment. It's at Bet Online currently. Where are we at, Donnie? Running a little slow here.
What, the Baltimore game, the total?
You can actually get at Bet Online 6.5 on this game. I'm going to go under first 5. 6.5 minus 130 at Bet Online. That's the play in this one for me.
That's pretty healthy on that one. Next up on the docket, Jeff, let's go to the Yankees and the Houston Astros. Lance McCullers looked very good on the mound yesterday. Another interesting thing is I was out taking my walk, just looking at my phone, going over numbers, and seeing a Chris Carter appear back in the lineup for the New York Yankees. Got a good laugh out of him early, but all of a sudden, Jeff, getting clutch hits, especially with 2 outs, getting RBIs. We'll see if that's going to continue, which I don't think it will. We got Montgomery on the mound versus Martez today. 9.5 is an over-under. Opened up, currently 9.5 across the board. Minus 129 it opens. Looks like Bet Online showing a minus 124 in the favor of Houston at this point. Some particulars on this game here, Jeff. Montgomery, 7 road starts. He's been really good. 3.32 ERA. Sort of that unsung hero, Jeff, of that staff for the New York Yankees. Martez, 1 start at home. 5 innings, an ERA of 1.80. Overall, though, through his 3 spot starts, a 4.26 ERA. Some particulars on this game. We all know how well that Houston plays at home, 25-18, even though taking the loss last night. The Yankees improved to 19-22 on the road. A little bit easier pitching matchup for me to try to decide if you're looking for over and under. Both of these teams, when going, can rake at the plate. I like I bagged on the Yankees a little bit for the end of their lineup, 6, 7, 8, and 9. But it looks like they're just putting some young guys in there to see what's going to happen. Torreyes had a decent night. Carter, I can't even believe he was getting base hits. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see the lineup that comes out for Houston. Doesn't matter. It seems like who you go against, they're going to put up at least 3, 4, 5 runs in any environment here.
Yeah, I look at this game and I think over. Martez 3-0 to the over in his 3 starts this year. You have to figure both these pitchers will get hit a little bit. Montgomery's been fairly surprising here for a lot of Yankee fans. I don't think anyone thought he would pitch this well, but going on the road against a lineup this good, I think both these teams will score some runs. Do I think it'll be what it was last night? What was it, 13-4? No, but I definitely think we see 10 runs here for sure. Martez is a guy that throws hard. He has some ability, but his command isn't very good. And again, you mentioned their ability for Houston, especially against left-handed pitching. And after a loss this year, Donnie, they are 17-8 in the next game, Houston. So look at this price. I think whenever you can get Houston at minus 120, it's always a good sign. The problem I have here, Donnie, Martez not going deep into games. We're going to get this bullpen for 3, 4 innings. And right now, they have some guys that don't belong in the bullpen. I think we're going to see some runs here in Houston. I'll go over 9.5. Donnie, I do want to answer a question. Someone asking about J.J. Redick on the chat box. Will he start right away? Yeah, of course he's going to start right away. I would imagine he goes right in that 2-guard spot. You would think, right, Don?
Who did he sign? Did he sign with somebody?
Well, the Sixers are looking at him.
Yeah.
I think he starts right away. The problem with Redick right now is the Sixers want to give him a 1-year deal, about $20 to $25 million. He wants a longer-term contract. If I'm the Sixers, I'm looking 3-year, $65 million, something like that. If they can, I would hope they would offer that. Get J.J. Redick in here. I think he'd be a great addition to this group. They need a shooter. He's going to provide that right away. We'll see what happens. A lot going on, Donnie, with a free agency. But, yeah, as far as this game, I would lean over 9.5.
Yeah, a couple games are just getting underway here. Looks like with Canada Day, the extended celebration out there, Jeff, similar to what we saw with Derek Jeter night. So we'll see if that carries over to the baseball field and see if that's going to overcome Chris Sale on the mound. But another game that's already off in the bottom of the first inning now, 0-0 between Cleveland and Detroit. I thought you would like that, Jeff. Maybe emotions boiling over, Sale just not on his game from the crowd,
Yeah, all those amazing baseball fans, they're probably pouring almost onto the field, throwing things.
Molson Lights is going wild up there. Yeah.
The hooligans are starting fires in the 600 level. Chris is sweating. I'm sure it's going to be quite the problem for him today.
Next up, Jeff, we'll skip that second game in the doubleheader again with Cleveland with Carrasco and Zimmerman. We'll get right to another game. 9:27, 9:28 on the docket, a 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time start. Gavilio and Nolasco on the mound. Over-under opened up at 9, Jeff. Actually, 8.5 currently out there across the markets. Opened up as a small favorite towards Nolasco as a side at minus 113. Currently, bet down a little bit there. If you're looking at Bet Online, looks like a pick 'em minus 105 either side in that one, so a decent matchup from what they're anticipating. I know Gavilio got pushed back a day, and they switched up with the rotation yesterday with Miranda, which was a good move. A 10-0 road winner out of Seattle last night. Robbie Cano with a couple blasts. Gavilio, not the same pitcher from home and away, Jeff. 5.51 ERA on the road through 3 starts. In the last go, you don't get much better through his starts at home, which have been 7 of them. Averages about 5 1/3 innings, a 5 ERA in this one. So might be leaning towards a little bit more runs here. Seattle improved to 15-24 after last night's shellacking over the Los Angeles Angels. And it's always nice to see, Jeff, when I go over, seeing, hey, limping in June, 6-22 in June, or whatever it is. Everybody's 0-0 starting in today, so a fresh slate. The Los Angeles Angels and Anaheim 34-30 overall in night games. No Mike Trout in the lineup here. I think they still might be able to get some runs here, Jeff.
Yeah, definitely a weird line here, Donnie. I mean, are you looking at this and saying, like, why is this line 8.5? I mean, kind of.
Yeah, no, you're right, because you're not getting power pitching. And as I just stated there, Gaviglio loves that monster ballpark in Seattle. In the last go, he's not a shutdown guy. So I agree. It's kind of eye-opening, especially after night, Jeff, a 10 spot from Seattle.
Yeah, Gaviglio, I mean, really random guy on the road, not a shutdown guy. Nolasco's a 5 ERA guy. This total is interesting. This surprises me. I'm sure this will be 3-2, but look, sometimes you got to just kind of run with it in some of these totals here. This one looks way too low. This one I think should be 9.5, not 8.5. We also have to point out, though, the Mariners are hard to get involved with on the road, Donnie. 15-24. They've seemingly kind of went away a little bit. They've always been bad on the road. But I guess if I had to play this, I probably won't. I'd go over, but it's really just a lean for me.
Yep. Next year up on the docket, Jeff, we'll keep it on the West Coast, but an early afternoon ball game between Atlanta and Oakland. Dickey has Blackburn on the mound today. Over-under opened up at 9, currently sits at 9. Oakland as a small favorite. How about this, Jeff? Blackburn is on the mound here. It opens up as a -138 favorite, still hovering at -131, getting a lot of respect from Bet Online and also betting marketplaces across. If you look at Blackburn, 79 innings in minor league baseball, Jeff, a 3.05 ERA. So I haven't seen the kid pitch, haven't done a lot of background check, but that lends me to believe that he has some decent stuff and is a pretty good prospect. You're usually not getting that much respect. I know it's R.A. Dickey. I know it's Atlanta, not the best team, but that's a lot of respect there for rookies, similar to what we saw with Faria when he first came up with Tampa Bay. Taking a look at some looks here, as I said, Blackburn's going to get that first start. R.A. Dickey on the road, Jeff, 6 road starts, 7.15 ERA with a whip of 1.7. One would say that runs would be in order today, but is Atlanta ever going to wake up with the bats? I know they pulled out a win last night, but another leaky type of offensive performance. Matt Adams did sit out. Maybe they get him back today for a little bit extra, but from what I'm seeing here, the over-under with the total, excuse me, at 9, I don't know what to think of that.
Yeah, Dickey, you mentioned his issues on the road, and it's not been like 1 or 2 starts. It's been several. I mean, he was horrible at Washington, bad at San Francisco, bad at Cincinnati. He's just kind of been bad every road start. The question I have today is, will the knuckleball be effective? It's 74 degrees in Oakland, light wind, not too bad. And you're facing a team that's had real struggles against right-handers. Oakland only hitting .235 this year against right-handed pitching. And Donnie, I want to give a little love to our friend Paul Blackburn, making his start today, his debut. He is from Antioch, California, 35 minutes away from Oakland. Should be a nice homecoming for the kid. You mentioned his good numbers in AAA. I think this is one of those games where he throws pretty well. Look, will he shut them down? I don't know. But this Atlanta team starting to struggle a little bit to hit, only hitting about .202 over the last week. The young kid, I think, might be a little effective here. But do I want to lay 130 with the kid? No. This is a tough one. I'll pass. I want to see how the kid throws tonight, but I have a feeling he's going to pitch pretty well. Maybe we'll see a similar to the way that Kyle Freeland's pitched, Donnie, for Denver and Colorado. He's from the Denver area. We have a similar situation here. Oakland needs a good starter to come up and pitch well. I'm almost hoping for their sake they get it here. I think they will.
No, I agree with you on that one. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how he comes out in that one. Again, Atlanta, their bats were hot for a while, but since it cooled off dramatically over the past 2 weeks, and again, cooled off last night as well. Another one of those matchups, Jeff, where you get one of these kids that's going to start and you haven't seen much of them. Might take you a round or two to try to get through and then do that. But that's going to wrap up our Major League Baseball card for today. I know there's another one out there in the doubleheader version with, I guess it's George. I never heard of the guy. Jorge. Did some research on him. Called up straight from Double-A, Jeff. Never even had a AAA start, 85 innings, a 3.26 ERA coming here from Minnesota and Kansas City. But again, we don't know the lineups in that one, the particulars, who won the first game, who burned their bullpen, who's not available. So probably not the best on giving out information. But there are some decent shots over here in Major League Baseball that I'm looking at. Trying to stay away at least till the after All-Star break with full game totals, trying to get them to settle down to what the numbers are. I mean, overs are still hitting out there, but the ones you think would hit, not hitting, the ones that aren't hitting are. So one of those interesting things before you burn a bridge or totally burn the house down or lose your profits there. Sometimes you want to take a step back, refresh, and hit a couple different angles. That's what I'm going to do. You want to leave with anything, Jeff, that you like in Major League Baseball before we turn it over to the NBA hardcore?
Yeah, quickly, a very interesting comment here by Aladdin. Big man, you kind of look like Lonzo Ball.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he's got the shoes too. Jeff just got the shoes.
Not sure I see that. But, Donnie, real quick on Felix Jorge here. Making his debut from Chattanooga. So you mentioned hasn't really pitched much above. Actually, he hasn't pitched above AA
no AAA
in his career. Parents, he was asked about his parents and will they be there? No one will be there for the young kid today, unfortunately. Parents are in the Dominican. Even they're surprised. They don't even have a parent.
That's a good one.
So, the kid will be all alone here. I got to tell you, Donnie, even after what we see in Game 1, I actually like the Royals in Game 2. Hamel's been very good lately. You look at the latest 32 and third, 9 earned runs, and ERA at 2.51. I think he's been a guy that I'm going to look to bet on. I think this could be a situation where we might see, maybe a sweep. I think the second game, I definitely like the Royals. As far as baseball tonight, I do like that under in the first game between the Twins and Kansas City. I also like the under first 5, 6.5 in Rays Orioles. I look to get on the Dodgers again as well. We'll see how it goes. I will have a couple premium plays today. Big man, did you get the big baller shoes? No, I have not, and I won't. I don't – listen, if I'm going to spend – and if anyone that knows me knows, Donnie, I'll show you some of the sneaks I have. Let me show you. I got the Space Jams. I got, the cherry and white 13s. I got all the sneaks, but I'm going to tell you right now, Donnie, if I'm going to spend $500 on sneakers, it's not going to be on Lonzo Ball sneakers. No way. I'll spend that on a pair of Concords or something like that. No way will I spend that money on Lonzo Ball sneakers. No.
What do you got? The shoe? I actually didn't see it. Were you putting? I didn't see it on the delay there. Were you showing your shoes there? I just popped it back up for myself.
I did. I showed a couple. My favorite pairs. The Space Jam.
Up there in a second.
11. Yeah. What time does the late night on campus start? It's not on tonight. We're not on Saturday or Sundays, but it starts at
Monday.
10 o'clock on Monday. Donnie, little NBA as far as baseball. I will have a couple premium plays. I know we mentioned Donnie and I are both profitable. I'm up about 9 units. I know Donnie's having a good year as well, so we'll look to keep that going. Donnie, basketball, which I got to tell you, I said it last night, and I'll say it again. Highway robbery if you're the Thunder. You got Paul George and gave up Domantas Sabonis and Oladipo.
Yeah, it's interesting because they're saying it's like a win-win because you're only going to have Paul George for 1 year, but getting out of Oladipo's 20-some-odd million contract looks like it was the way to do it. You're going to appease Westbrook for a year. At first, when you look at it, you say, well, why would they do that knowing Paul George isn't going to stay there? That's a chance for you to win him over. Maybe he likes it. I don't think he will because Westbrook's probably going to be, after 2 games, absolutely furious and just play hero ball because Paul George is taking his limelight, taking his points, and doing whatever he wants to do. Same way KD bounced. But I can't fault OKC because, again, they got rid of some nice salary dump on there, which is going to open them up for the future, depending on what they want to do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. How they
stacked up West, though, man. It's kind of interesting now.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And, hey, I'm happy to – I don't mind seeing him out of the Eastern Conference, Donnie.
That's good for the Sixers.
Obviously, I think a lot of us thought that he would go to Boston, but again, I'm not exactly mad that he's out of the Eastern Conference. A couple other moves. Stephen Curry gets a 5-year, Donnie, $201 million deal, the richest I think we've ever seen in the NBA. Your thoughts on that?
He deserves it. Not because I think that's a ridiculous amount of money, but you have to understand where it's coming from. This guy just came off a 4-year, $44 million deal. Is one of the best players in the NBA. So it's almost like that back pay finally catching up. So it's a lot of money. Do I think anybody's worth that amount? No. But in his actual scenario, he is worth that money.
Yeah, dude, I think he's one of the more overrated players in the league, in my opinion. But I don't think he's I really don't believe he's a top 5 player in the league, in my opinion. He's very good, but he can't play defense. He's not a particularly good slasher. Good shooter, sure. But is he worth that amount of money? Look, I guess in the marketplace he is, but I think he's fairly overrated. Drew Holiday, Donnie, back to the Pelicans. Nice incentive clause as well for the young guy. Good to see him get paid. He had a personal issue with his wife, if you remember, Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
She had cancer. Very nice thing. Nice to see him get a little bit of get a lot of money back. He's had a nice little career. Jeff Teague, Donnie, has left the Indiana Pacers to go to the Timberwolves. How about that? 3-year, $57 million deal. So they have their point guard. And I'm going to tell you right now, Donnie, the Timberwolves are looking up. They really
Ricky Rubio, where did he end up going to?
He went to the Utah Jazz.
There you go, yeah.
Milwaukee's re-signed Tony Snell. Blake Griffin, a big deal to the Clippers. I don't know that I'm not giving him $173 million, Donnie.
No, I mean it's funny money out there because the floor is so ridiculously high now in the NBA. Just to hit the minimum. I know a lot of people concentrate on the Sixers. Why would you pay JJ Redick 3 years, $60 million? You actually have to. You have to spend that money somewhere. You can't just say, well, I'm going to save it for a rainy day. The Sixers are so far below the floor that if they gave Redick Jeff, a 1-year, $40 million deal, they would barely even be getting up to the floor. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, again, I think he's worth $20 million. Again, I think that's the marketplace for him. That's where he's going to – what's what he's going to get. I would try to give him a 3-year deal. He wants to be, he wants a long-term deal. They need a two-guard. I think, as a shooter, they have to bring him in my opinion.
I think he's actually going to go to Brooklyn there. Did I read also that he just bought a penthouse in Brooklyn over the summer or last summer there? And also, Jeff, keep in mind with Brooklyn, they don't have any draft picks, so money is of no issue right now to just spend wildly out there. I can't imagine if the Sixers say, we'll give you 2 years, $35 million or something like that. Brooklyn just doesn't give them like 4 for like $100 million, honestly.
I mean, as far as like whatever the Sixers do, I mean, I don't mind them. I like JJ Redick. I also don't mind Iguodala. I would hate Iguodala. I would welcome him back with open arms. I think he would be a guy that I don't know what you wouldn't want about that. What don't you like?
He was the worst decade of Sixer basketball I've ever seen. A super fake guy. Again, I will take Iguodala. I always preface this, even back in the day when he was making almost max level money. If Iguodala in 2008 for the Sixers or 2009 made like $3 million, I would love him. If he comes back to the Sixers, I'll take a vet level exception of $4 million. I'll take him back.
But he is, again, I'm not sure what at this point you don't like about him. He's a guy that defends at a high level, one of the best defenders in the league. He's not the go-to guy anymore. In Philadelphia, it didn't work because they wanted to make him the go-to guy, and that's not where he thrived. He needs to be the third option, the fourth option. I would walk.
I don't think he's even capable of doing that because he's almost putting his place out there where he can't even get that shot. Now he's going to come back. And I've seen a decade of basketball, the shittiest basketball, Sixers basketball you can see, and he was the poster child for it. I don't want to see that guy anywhere near Philadelphia.
Tony Allen's one of the best defenders in the league. He's old as well. I don't care how old he is. He still plays elite defense. That's all I need to know. I would look
all about the money. All about the money. Like if he came back 1 year, $5 million, I would take him in a second. Anything more than that, I don't want anything to do with him.
I would look to Serge Ibaka maybe as well. Throw him on.
I would like Serge Ibaka much better than Andre Iguodala.
All three of those I feel are pretty good of options. But Donnie, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the deal's flying and going everywhere. Wojnarowski, he's now a ESPN employee.
Yeah, 12:01 last night. Jeff kicked off his show. How about that, huh?
Dude, I got to be honest, Donnie, and I don't mean any disrespect to this guy. Really, I don't. But I hope I never meet – and this is, again, no disrespect, but I do hope I never meet you, Phil Marino, because I have a feeling if I ever met you and had to talk to you for more than a minute, I would probably wring your neck or try to. You make me furious when I try to – you literally have a response for everything. I mean, does anyone else notice that? When you're doing a show, it's like very irritating to have someone just no. I mean, do you ever agree with anything anyone says?
Phil Marino's name should be Devil's Advocate out there. That should be his actual tag name on there. Just play that opposite card. He plays the opposite card very well.
Yeah, he's always got something that I also have really believe in my mind he is one of these trolls that I deal with on a regular basis. I mean, what he obviously doesn't like anyone, seemingly. Why does he come on these chats? I mean, I don't get it. Then he always makes a comment of, well, I don't really listen. I just have it on in the background. Come on, dude. You literally comment on everything we say. You have it on the background. You love this show. This is your life. You love watching this show, bro. And we like having you, but come on, agree with us once in a while. Donnie, Manny Pacquiao fights tonight against Jeff Horn.
On the non pay-per-view. We can all enjoy it, right?
Yes, ESPN, live from Australia. Look, I mean, at this price, you're not going to lay 660 with Manny Pacquiao, especially at this point in his career. He looks ready to go for this fight as far as making weight and that kind of thing, but he's 38 years old. He's at the end of his career. He already has a life outside of boxing. Again, I'll continue to ask myself, why are you doing this? I mean, I don't really get the sense in it.
Pacquiao?
Yeah, I don't really.
He's broke. He's broke.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Again, though, he was very good against Tim Bradley. Beat Jesse Vargas, who is kind of a softball opponent. But Jeff Horn, a young kid, only went pro in 2013. He's not a guy with a lot of experience, only 16 fights. He hasn't lost, but at his level, he shouldn't be losing. Should be beating everyone. He has a distinct reach advantage here. Do I think Manny Pacquiao will knock him out? No, I don't. I don't know that I'd lay 660 either. I'm not going to lay 660. I'm not going to lay anything on the knockout or anything here. I got to be honest, Donnie. I think this fight's going to go the distance. I think Jeff Horn's – I think he's a hungry kid. I think he's going to be out there to kind of – and again, it's not the same level of a fight, but you look at when Bernard Hopkins fought Joe Smith. Bernard Hopkins was knocked out of the ring. I just think at some points you get a little bit too greedy. Do I think Manny Pacquiao will lose? No, but I don't think it's going to be easy as everyone thinks. I think Jeff Horn will be decent in this fight. I think he'll want to put on a show in front of the home fans here. He's a good young fighter. I mean, he really has a little bit of a future for himself. 29 years old, a good reach, has a 3-inch reach advantage here against Pacquiao. And Pacquiao just doesn't have the same power that he once had. He's still fast, for sure. But
what's the MO of the young kid he's fighting, Jeff? Power guy, power puncher? What is it?
He's more of a, he's an orthodox stance, not a southpaw or anything. He's got a good amateur career. But you look at the one problem you have with amateurs taking this massive step is, are they ready for this? Obviously, I mean, you're fighting in small gyms around Australia. Now you jump up and fight, at this such a high level. But you look at Gervonta Davis, a guy that we've talked about on this show. He made the elite leap. He went from fighting in Baltimore to fighting on Floyd Mayweather's undercards here coming up. He's taking massive steps, but sometimes, Donnie, you have to do that. For me, I just don't know that Pacquiao's that focused to go out and get the job done here. He'll win, probably by unanimous decision, but I do think the young kid's going to have some things go well for him here. And I think he's, very hungry. He's young, and I think he's going to have more durability here late in this fight. So for me, I would go with this fight goes the distance. I really do believe that. We'll see what happens.
What's interesting about that fight is just the way – I like the environment. I like the fact it's going to be in Australia, in the young kid's hometown or hometown area, their home country, I should say, in a rugby stadium, 55,000 people. Always like that. And then you're going to push it on to a little bit later in the summer. You're going to get the mega fight there, so to speak, with Mayweather and McGregor. And then you're going to get a pure boxing mega fight in September with Triple G and Canelo. So a lot of fun things to talk about overall in boxing in the next couple months.
Yeah, for sure. A lot coming up. Good welterweights right now. The heavyweight divisions are coming back. We'll see what happens. Would you take a shot with Horn by decision? No, I would not. The only thing I'd look for here, and it's plus money, over 9.5 rounds. I think this one is a little bit longer than people might think. I don't think Manny Pacquiao can knock Jeff Horn out. I don't believe he can. We'll see. Donnie, couple things I do want to get, little bit of a kind of house cleaning here. Someone, I forget who it was, I had a message recently about, can I get my dad on the show? Yes, this week I will make that happen. I will make that happen. Once kind of it dies down here, my sister's down here with her boyfriend, there's a lot going on. We'll get my dad on the show. My dad's been on my podcast before. My mother has as well. She came
Watch
on.
out, Jeff. People are going to screenshot the show. Watch out.
Could care less anymore, Donnie. But again, my mom came on and actually gave out a sports prediction before Donnie and hit. We had a 5-1 future on Caitlyn Jenner wearing white at the ESPYs, and my mom was the one that gave that out. So she will, and they will be on at some point. But Donnie, I also want to discuss with you, are you going to come down next week to do a show?
Yeah, we got to talk about that. I forgot to call you last night. I got your message on that, but we could possibly coordinate that depending on what day it's going to be, and I guess any day during the week would probably work for you, right? Maybe we'll get down and do like a right side of campus down there, and then just relax the rest of the day. You know?
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, I think it'd be fun. Big man, any Ireland Premier plays today? I know there is a game, Sligo Rovers, and I forget who else. I'll have to look at it. I have no idea. As far as for the rest of the day here, I'll have some premiums. Big man, we really have to do lunch or dinner this summer in Lancaster, less than an hour. Yeah, Lauren, I'm down. I'd love to have a meal with you, man. I'll be back in a couple weeks here, and we can definitely set that up. We will see what happens, Donnie. Anything else tonight?
No, not anything else. Just going to dig into a card. I have an eye on one of these games already, which I'm probably going to be firing on at 4 o'clock. So just going to sharpen my sword for tonight, make sure I get the right play out there. And we'll have some fun and hopefully be a good holiday weekend for us.
Yeah, again, I'll throw this invite out though. Throw Marino anytime you want to come on the show. I would love to have you.
Let's get him in person. Bring him down the shore. We'll get him right there on camera. We'll hang out. We'll get on your jet skis over there. We'll do it up.
Well, no, he ain't getting on any jet skis. I'll have him on my show.
He can watch from the dock.
I'd love to have. Yeah, that's what I would do probably. But yes, the offer's there. I would love to have you. Stop making excuses. Get on the show. We want to hear from you. But yes, we will have plenty coming up here next week, Donnie. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you Monday here on the Late Night on Campus. Everyone have a great night.
Take care, fellas.